So what is up, everyone? The Movie House here, and today we're going to be looking at the top 6 best James Bond actors. So I'm going to split this list into two groups. The first group being completely objective, and the second group being completely subjective, because this is by far the hardest list to do in a James Bond, list, because there's so much criteria, and it's all personal preference. And so I think that's why it would be most appropriate for me to just rank these in an objective list and a subjective list. So let's start with the objective list first, and so number 6. Coming in number 6 is George Lazenby. George Lazenby is a wooden actor. Coming in number 5 is Timothy Dalton. Timothy Dalton was a hard-brooding badass Bond, and the reason he's not higher because he didn't have the charm as the other actors. He had some charm, there's no doubt, but not like the other James Bond did, and you have to balance that to make a great James Bond. So that's why he is not higher. Coming number 4 is Pierce Brosnan. Pierce Brosnan, more than any other Bond actor, was just so balanced. He balanced everything that made a great James Bond actor. He had the badassness, he had the physical appearance, and he had the charm. And I think that's awesome, because Pierce Brosnan, he's a great actor, he can act. And when you balance all these things to make a great James Bond, it's really good, and that's why he comes in at number 4. So coming in number 3 is Roger Moore. Roger Moore is definitely the campiest Bond, but he was such a gentleman and a player, and he was so cool and suave and so swag. And I think that's why he was so great, because he was just so cool and smooth, and honestly, that's what makes him such a classic and great Bond. And he wasn't trying to be like Sean Connery, he was his own Bond, and that's why he comes in number 3. Coming number 2 is Daniel Craig. Daniel Craig was definitely a harder Bond. He was definitely a grittier Bond. But unlike Timothy Dalton, he was really good at the charm and the wit, and that was shown especially well in movies like Skyfall and Spectre. That's why he's at number 2. Coming number 1 is Sean Connery. When you think of Bond, you gotta think of Sean Connery, because he is Bond. He's got the blatant sexual harassment, he's got the swag, he's got the grittiness, he's got everything, and that's why he is the best Bond. Alright, I'm done with the objective list. Now we're going to get into my personal opinions. I'm going to take a little bit more time with these opinions, and you guys are probably going to not agree with this list at all, because they're my opinions. So, starting with number 6. Coming number 6 is George Lazenby. Surprise, surprise, it's not so surprise. As I was saying, he's wooden. Like, he's not a good actor. But that's what makes his better acting moments so great, like the death of Tracy. He's good in those moments, and it's very satisfying when he's good in those moments, because he's not a good actor, obviously. But when he is good, he's good. And it makes it a little better. Does that make any sense? Probably not. And say what you want about his acting, he is great in the fight scenes. I'm just saying, he's really good in the fight scenes. And that's what sells the action in On Her Majesty's Secret Service, in my opinion. But the biggest thing I don't like about this James Bond portrayal was his just attempt at trying to copy Sean Connery's style through the hair and the way he acts and all of the blatant sexual harassment and stuff like that. It's not good. And when he was trying to copy Sean Connery, he was not his own Bond, and that is by far the biggest compliment I can say about his portrayal. So let's move on. Coming number 5 is Pierce Brosnan. Pierce Brosnan, as I was saying, he balances these things so well. He balances James Bond characteristics, just everything. That's exactly my opinions on the objective list. And the reason he's not higher, I'm not a fan of the pretty boy. He's kind of a pretty boy Bond. And that's not to say that's bad. I think Pierce Brosnan's fantastic. I like Pierce Brosnan, Roger Moore, Sean Connery, Timothy Dalton, and Daniel Craig. I love those Bonds. I love them equally. And Pierce Brosnan, he's not my personal preference, and that's what makes this list really subjective. So let's move on. Coming in at number 4 is Roger Moore. Roger Moore is the campiest Bond. But I love the campy attempts. But another reason why he's not higher is because, he was way too old in his last Bond film, and that really does hinder. And when you have an old Bond, he's not doing a lot of his stunts, which he doesn't. And he doesn't have the physical appearance that I think Bond should. Like, not with the hair, he looks great, but, built-wise. Sean Connery, he was a built person, and he was doing all of his stuff. I think Roger Moore isn't like that. But again, the reason why he is number 4 and is higher than Pierce Brosnan is because I love the camp, and he's so suave. He's a gentleman. He's a badass, and I think that's awesome. And I think Roger Moore is by far the most likable Bond. That's not even a question. He's by far the most likable Bond. And that's why he's so great, in my opinion. Well, he did move down on the objective list. I think the other three are just a little bit better. And Roger Moore, you're fantastic. And I love Roger Moore interviews. I think he's awesome. I would have loved to work with Roger Moore more than any other Bond actor. And that's some good praise I'm giving Roger Moore. So you guys probably won't agree that he's number 4, but gosh darn it, he's number 4, so let's move on. Coming number 3 is Gonna Kill Me, Sean Connery. He's not my favorite Bond, personally. I think he's awesome, and all my opinions on the objective list would completely move into the subjective list. I think he's awesome. He's badass. He's cool. He looks Bond. When I think of Bond, I think of Sean Connery. But, you know what? The two, I think, are just ever so slightly better. And Sean Connery, the reason he's not hired, and I'm going to be completely honest, his last, or not last, but the performance in You Only Live Twice is one of the worst. It is one of the worst. I think it's actually worse than George Lazenby's portrayal. He was so bored and wooden and just not good. And although comments can actually also go for Thunderball, I'm going there, guys. I'm going into that territory. He's not good in Thunderball. He's not good in You Only Live Twice. He was great in Diamonds Are Forever, and he just got bored with his last, or not last, but Thunderball and You Only Live Twice. And that's why he's not my favorite. So, number 3. Coming in number 2 is Daniel Craig. Daniel Craig is awesome. He's great. He's likable, he's awesome, and his performance in Spectre really defined his character because he was gritty when he needs to be. He's smooth and smooth when he needs to be. He's a charmer, he's a player, he's a badass, he's gritty, he's awesome. And Daniel Craig is by far the best actor to play James Bond. That's not a question. Just watch the torture scene from Casino Royale and you will completely understand what I'm stepping in, alright? He is the best actor to play James Bond. His performance in Casino Royale is the best Bond performance, in my opinion. But this is all personal preference. So, he's not my favorite. Comes in number 2. Coming number 1, you guys can hate me for this. Timothy Dalton. I love Timothy Dalton. Objectively, he's my 5th favorite. But the objective list is more of like, if I took a survey of like 100 people, that's what the list would probably have turned out to be. I think Timothy Dalton, well, he's not a charmer like the other Bonds are. I don't need him to be. He is a gritty, hardened, unhinged badass who will not stop to sleep with a girl or do anything like that. It's just him. He's gritty. He's unhinged. He's awesome. He's really great. Take performance in License to Kill. He was on a revenge rampage. You're not going to see a James Bond movie nowadays, even with Daniel Craig, that literally the plot of the movie is a revenge story of Felix Leiter. I think that's just brilliant, and the path they were going in with Timothy Dalton probably would have been the best James Bond year. But the fact they only did 2 movies is just saddening to me. Yeah, I think Daniel Craig is awesome. I want him to do another movie. But Timothy Dalton didn't even really get a chance to shine. And I think he absolutely shined in License to Kill. He went all out in that film. And Living Daylights. I love Living Daylights. I love License to Kill. They're both great. I don't know why License to Kill and Living Daylights are so hated. And I don't know why Timothy Dalton's so hated. I'm going to sound like a really old person when I say he's the most underrated Bond, but you know what? He is the most underrated Bond. And that's why he's my personal favorite. So, I know you guys don't agree with my subjective. You guys are already, disliking this video. But what are your guys' ranking of the James Bond actors, subjectively, in your opinion? Put it in the comments. Guys, thank you so much for watching. This is really fun to do. And, yeah, see you next time.